Can Mick Cronin and the Bruins finally beat the Trojans in the Galen Center? What's it gonna take?
You are Locked On UCLA, your daily podcast on the UCLA Bruins. Part of the Locked On Podcast Network, your team every day.
Welcome, everybody, to this episode of the Locked On UCLA podcast. I'm your host, Zach Anderson-Yoxsimer. Thanks for making this show your first listen each every day. It's free wherever you get your podcast, and it's available on YouTube. Like, comment, subscribe, review. Thanks for your support. And if you're interested, hey, go Bruins, baby. Beat the Trojans. Episodes brought to you by FanDuel. Make every moment more by visiting FanDuel.com/LockedOn. Again, that's FanDuel.com/LockedOn. You can get 150 in bonus bets guaranteed win or lose when you place a $5 bet. Go check it out. Speaking of checking out, the Bruins tend to do so under Mick Cronin at the Galen Center. Now, that is an absolute extreme take on what is just a fact. UCLA has not won in the Galen Center under Mick Cronin yet in his tenure. That is the one regular season, non-big postseason impactful game that the Bruins have not won on the road in Cronin's tenure, right? UCLA's won at Arizona, even though they most recently did not. They've won on the road at Arizona State. They won everywhere other than USC. UCLA men's basketball has not beaten USC on the road since March of 2018. That's a bunch of years. That's 5 straight losses, 6 straight years. And it's time for that to end. We all know Cronin did struggle at the beginning of his tenure to beat Andy Enfield and the USC Trojans. He has a tough time beating USC for whatever reason. It's kind of funny in a bad way, in a weird joke, that is the team he struggles with the most to beat. And it took UCLA not to collapse in the second half to beat him at home last year. It took Boogie Ellis to score almost 30 in the second half to beat the Bruins in the Galen Center last year. So they're almost always even games. But there's ever a game to win, this would be the one where both teams have struggled. They're not 100%, whether it's UCLA at their peak potential, even though they seem to be getting there. And then you've got USC, who coming off the Arizona trip where they just got a couple of losses. The Trojans, they don't have Boogie. I mean, they didn't have Boogie at the moment. Cronin, in his pregame weekly chat with the media, said he expects Boogie to play just because he's a gamer and always hurts UCLA. That is a true statement. At the moment, not entirely sure from what I can see. But if you expect the worst, Boogie can go put up 30. If you don't, maybe he won't play. Either way, we'll expect this to be a coached-up squad that's very banged up and not as good. The big thing is you have Isaiah Collier, who has been injured, and he has been a key reason why USC has been not playing as well. Not that he made them a tournament team before, because they weren't. They lost a lot of games like the Long Beach State and such at home, in front of a whole crowd, right, with LeBron James there. Still, these are two teams that are going in similar directions. They've taken different paths, but at the moment, they've just got losses. They're under 500. They're in the same part of the schedule where they need a win to jump forward and maybe have an impactful second half. Maybe a dangerous USC team fully healthy could make a run in the tournament. Maybe a UCLA team full of confidence, a youth movement that all of a sudden reaches its full potential in this season can make a run in the conference tournament. But it starts with an emotional win, either at home for one, or on the road for a UCLA team that has been knocking on the door so many times to be USC in recent years and have not done so in the Galen Center. All right, what's it going to take? Well, I think it starts and finishes with the availability of Boogie Ellis. If the Bruins are unable to guard him if he's playing and available, then that'll be a struggle because he single-handedly can beat every UCLA player offensively with his shooting ability. If he's knocking down threes, the Bruins probably in what will be a low-scoring game would struggle to take the fireworks out, right? They couldn't light the fireworks offensively other than the big Arizona game. They started to figure it out, but the Bruins go quiet. Boogie Ellis single-handedly can do things. The one thing going for UCLA in this game is the fact that USC just does not play really good defense. They give up close to 75 points per game. Sometimes when they have their best guys out there, they could put up some points, but with their guys not out there, especially no Boogie, and a Bronny James that's still learning to get back in the flow of things. That's a long recovery, right? Last year for USC was Iwuchukwu, who's coming back around the UCLA game time. Bronny's been back out much sooner than that. But still, there's a lot of guys who are more defensive-oriented that just haven't, like DJ Rodman, who transferred from Wazoo to USC. Some guys that just haven't fully gelled just yet under Enfield to make this team as electric as the Trojans could be this year offensively. They just have not consistently played good defense. They beat Stanford this year, and Cal. UCLA couldn't do either of those things, but they beat them 82-74, 93-79. They put up big points to go do those things. While UCLA, they'll play better defense. They just might not have the offense to overcome it. Now, what we've seen from the Bruins is an improved ability of moving the ball around, taking timely shots. Who can hit the timely three? Recently, it was Stefanovic in the corner three, getting his feet wet after the Utah debacle. Found himself feeling a lot better with the Washington win in the Arizona State game, and then some key shots in the Arizona game, only for the Bruins to eventually fall after a big 19-point lead in the first half. Now, one could argue this game is even more important than the Arizona game. Now, the emotion, the weight, the national perspective of beating Arizona, UCLA would love to get that. Beat a top 10, top 15 team on the road. Last time we go there as conference rivals, yes. But the Bruins have not won in the Galen Center, which is supposed to be sold out in a rocking atmosphere, as the Bruins try to go knock off those pesky Trojans. Even Mick Cronin alluded to this in his interview talking with the media, saying, hey, if the game's important to the fan base, it's important to you. It has to be important to you as a coach. This is very important. The Bruins got to scratch this one. This is not like a top 10 USC team, like they are preseason predicted to be a top 25 team, unlike the Bruins. This is a team that UCLA should be able to handle on the road with what's going on currently with USC injury-wise, right? They're not fully healthy just yet, even if Boogie's there. So can UCLA come together? Can the Bruins with Adem Bona, who has to work on not making and committing fouls? We've already done this and talked about this with Locked On UCLA. Can Bona stay in the game? If Bona stays in the game to neutralize either an Iwuchukwu, a Josh Morgan, who is one of the better defenders and shot blockers in the Pac-12, Bona being in the game can help neutralize anything. I mean anything USC gets in the paint. Just by him being in the game and being out there for 30, 35 minutes. Bona being on the floor over under 32 and a half minutes, maybe more to 30 would be a fair game, right? But 32 and a half minutes, if Bona's out there more, UCLA probably wins. Doesn't matter anything, right? It's between Bona and Boogie, the BBs, right? If Boogie's hitting threes, but Bona's out there playing defense and neutralizing the threat, the pain, it's just going to come down to which supporting cast can help out. Most importantly, UCLA's defense and some of their offensive ability, especially in this game, because I've seen USC's bigs give up layups. They give up points. You can, even though they've got size, get in the paint, get boards, and score against this USC team. The Bruins can do that. This could be a good game for Sebastian Mack to drive, get a lot of fouls, and get to the basket, make the layups, and put in a 25-piece. It might be ugly, but he can do so. Bona, if he stays in this game more than 32 minutes, I think the Bruins win. If he doesn't, SC has a recipe for success. Now, this doesn't account for the home court factor and the Boogie going off factor if he's healthy and playing, which I don't know at this very moment. We'll find out. It'll be a big time, prime time, time-wise game, although we'll see how it plays out. Nationally televised, ESPN2. I can't wait to see, but UCLA has to win this game. Cronin's got to win this game. I don't want to see the Big Ten logo on the court before I see Mick Cronin win at the Galen Center. Let's go get this job done and get the win, all right? No more playing around. Let's get it done. That's probably the same mantra in the UCLA women's locker room, right? Cori Close, they were so close to sweeping the two-game roadie in the mountain schools over to Colorado and Boulder into Salt Lake City. But you bounce back. You're playing extremely tough teams. We'll talk about what the Bruins have to do on the women's side to continue to get the mojo right after they were the latest number 2 team in the country to fall here on Locked On UCLA. Passion, drive, and patience. What brings home the winning trophy is also what keeps your ride or die alive. eBay Motors is everything you need to maintain your vehicle and level it up to peak performance. From superchargers, roof racks, exhaust kits, and more, whether you're into speed, power, or style, eBay Motors has got you covered because they've got over 120 million plus parts for your number one ride or die. You'll always find exactly what you're looking for because with eBay Guaranteed Fit, your part is guaranteed to fit your ride every time or your money back. Because with eBay Motors, you're burning rubber, not cash. With all the parts you need at the prices you want, it's easy to turn your car into the MVP and bring home that win. Keep your ride or die alive at ebaymotors.com. Eligible items only. Exclusions apply. eBay Guaranteed Fit. Only available to U.S. customers. Cruising on the Locked On UCLA podcast. Zach with you guys. We are talking women's basketball because the Bruins, they have slipped a little bit down the standings. In third place, just ahead of now-ranked Oregon State, you've got Colorado, number 3 in the country, just ahead of the Bruins, who UCLA already beat because they're 6-1. Stanford, who the Bruins only play once this year in early February on the road in the Bay Area, they're 6-1, tied with Colorado atop the standings. The Bruins are the only team left in the conference with 2 losses. The other 2 have won, and now everybody else is in a logjam. This entire conference at least has 1 win in a conference that almost every team has a winning record except for Arizona State, and even then they're 9-10. So on a given night, any given night in this conference, it's pretty tough. UCLA in the latest bracketology release, I saw is still a 1 seed despite a couple of late losses. Most importantly, because the team who UCLA took the number 2 spot from was Iowa. And who did Iowa lose to? They lost at Ohio State. Who did UCLA beat on a neutral court pretty handedly? Ohio State. So UCLA's wins are looking good, better, and better, and better. The more UConn wins, that makes UCLA look better. The more Florida State wins, that looks better. Arkansas, who they just destroyed on the road, that makes them look better. If Princeton plays well, that makes UCLA look good. They've already beaten Colorado on the road and SC at home. Those are 2 top 5 teams, top 10 teams in the country. Even with USC struggles recently, they're 3-3 in conference. Those are still big wins. So no need to worry about that. But if UCLA wants to keep that 1 seed, avoid a much tougher Sweet 16 or an Elite 8 game that should probably be Final Four worthy, as opposed to something you have to play in the Sweet 16 where you're like, dude, that's a deathly matchup, right? So you go play in Portland. You want to be in Cleveland when the season's over in the Final Four in the national championship game. How to get there? You want to make the easiest path possible, the difference between being a 1 seed or a 2 seed that has to go through South Carolina on the other side of the country, or having to go to such and such, right? If you're playing against a tough 1 seed away from home, because you don't want to be potted with some super team that you don't want to play earlier. Even though this team is capable and probably very good at beating anybody in the country, we'll be seeing how this conference race shapes up. Because, hey, you'd love to knock Stanford off their perch. I know Vanderveer's got the all-time record. No, go knock off the Cardinal. Chop down the tree. Let's get it done. But before they even go to the Bay Area, Cori Close and company, I wonder if she's going to come out in a football uniform again. I wonder if she does it or if she's got to make her point again. They're going to play a Washington team, currently sitting near the bottom of the conference in a log jam at 2-4, just behind a 3-3 Washington State team, last year's darlings in the conference tournament. This year, Washington comes in, though. The Huskies do, after the Bruins play the Cougars later in the weekend. The Huskies are 12-5, 2-4. And what's going to be unique about this matchup is the fact that the Huskies play some solid defense. They only allow about 26% shooting percentage from 3. So if UCLA is struggling from the 3-point line, this could be one of those games where you're coming off a tough road trip, you haven't been at home in a while, and you're like, all right, this is Washington. We just went on the road and played Colorado, got the win. Could have and almost knocked off Utah in overtime in a game they could have stolen regulation. Still, this is a Washington team that if the Bruins are cold, if London Jones isn't hitting threes, if Charisma Osbourne's a little short, if UCLA is struggling shooting the ball, this could be one of those games that happens again that you get shocked at home because you're not shooting the ball as well. Because the Huskies, based off the numbers, especially from 3-point lands, if the Bruins aren't hitting and blitzing Washington after the first quarter, not exactly a sign of concern, because UCLA's learned, hey, we can't just go be up by 10, 15 points every first quarter like they were for a good 2+ months of this season. Once they start to get their feet under them, they have to learn, hey, Washington's got close to 3 to 4 double-digit scores from Delia Daniels. There's Ladine, Schwartz, Steins. There's all sorts of different competitors on this Washington team that can come in and score the basketball. So we'll see how it all plays out for Washington. Ladine just had 12 points against Arizona State, 22 at Arizona. She's on a double-digit scoring stretch that started with 24 against Cal, but the better teams keep her in check, like Stanford. 4 of 12, kept her and made sure she didn't shoot the ball as well, capable for a double-double every so often for the sophomore from San Francisco as a guard. 5'11 guard that UCLA has to take advantage, make sure they can play some good defense, right? How are the Bruins going to jump out? Most importantly, have to get Lauren Betts involved. Some quiet games, so one wonders, what's the struggle? Can the Bruins get it inside to her when teams are bigger, more coached up, physical, have better denial of entry passes to the post? The Bruins got to work on getting her the ball, because if Washington is very good at defending the three and UCLA is not going to be launching from the perimeter, find a way to get it to your big transfer in the paint and let her score. Get that confidence back for UCLA. Let her dominate. I'd love to see a big-time 22-15 performance from Betts. If she's feeling at her best at home, get comfortable, get her flowing, because you're going to need that dominant post presence, which is what UCLA lacked when they couldn't beat South Carolina in previous years, when they couldn't just go play Cameron Brink because she was swatting every shot in the paint, basically. That's not going to happen this year because the Bruins have their own shot blocker, better rebounder, and post scorer, all 3-in-1 in Lauren Betts. Now, which of the guards are going to step up and be a scoring threat and negate that three-point shooting defense from the Huskies? I would love to see London Jones come back with a solid 3 to 4, 5 threes made in this game. It's been a couple of games. She lit it up, helping UCLA beat USC. They had the big quotes post-game. It's any player, any lady on any given night that can come in and lead this team. This would be a fun time to go against the numbers, see Jones put up a 40%, maybe a 4 of 9, a 4 for 10 shooting performance, which isn't crazy, but those 12 points could be a large difference between this one being a scary close game late to UCLA comfortably winning this one at home 15 to 20. Maybe they blitz them by 30, just between a London Jones hitting those in transition threes. Those timely threes would be extremely crucial for UCLA to get. So I think, one, you have to feed Betts. You must do so. And then I'd love to see Jones help light it up from 3. This is her time to shine and make sure the Bruins can do so. It's also a Husky team that out-rebounds the opponent +7 per game. So the emphasis, I remember seeing UCLA's got to all rebound. It can't just all be on Betts, though. I want to see her have a good game. The Bruins all have to emphasize getting the boards, being physical. Even with the loss at USC, the overtime loss at Utah, there's no doubt in my mind that this team should be a 1 seed, will be a 1 seed, hopefully, and is capable, absolutely, of winning the national championship. They are definitely in that short list of contenders, which, while the list is getting longer every year more and more in women's college basketball, the Bruins are on that list, and I don't think there's anything that could truly make a difference. The one thing that has hurt Washington this year, their assist to turnover ratio, 230 assists, 230 turnovers. So the Bruins against the Huskies force some freaking turnovers. They should force like 20 turnovers in this game easily. Easily. This is a Washington team that's turned it over. So go make it happen. I'm looking at these assist to turnover ratios, not the best for the Huskies. Go check it out, because with in their 17 games, I'm going to do some quick math for the Huskies. Boom, 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 math. About 14 turnovers. Go force 20. Go force 20 turnovers and make it happen. Because for every assist the Huskies have, they have a turnover as well. This would be a big game for UCLA to get back the rhythm going, face a dark horse contender in both Washington and, more importantly, Washington State, and then another big road trip ensues for UCLA to prove once again that they should be a number 1 seed come March. And they absolutely should at this moment, based on their resume, what they've shown, who they've beaten. Much tougher than probably most teams in the country, if not everybody, which is where that's the hill I'm going to stand on and die on right there. All right. So go Bruins, get the job done. And hey, I don't think they need a football jersey to prove that they're tough. This is the team that went on the road and competed physically. Now they got to go do it at home and get the good vibes going at Pauley Pavilion. Speaking of good vibes, interesting vibes, story time next on Locked On UCLA. All right, we're ending Locked On UCLA on a goofy note, right? So no recruiting to talk about. We'll get to more football recruiting. We'll talk ideas for UCLA football in a future episode with the new hiring of Darren Usher. You've got basketball, women's basketball, more things. We can go more in depth with those later. But speaking of X's and O's in basketball, let's get down to business. Because now, well, I'm not going to be exactly like any of the coaches, especially the basketball coaches, because I'm just not that smart. I will say today, they're dropping this podcast. I am now a basketball coach, middle school, right? Interim, and we're going to see how it goes. The only game I've coached so far in my life was when I was sitting on the bench for my sister's game, and my dad got kicked out because there was a jackwagon pair on the other side. My dad turned off the coaching and went to jackwagon pair too, and they both got ejected for being dumb. So I had to coach the last couple of minutes in a close game. They're stuck in backcourt. I called timeout. I felt like a genius. I was going to drop a play that this team was going to score the basket to tie and send it to overtime. And because they're kids, they didn't follow the play and they did it backwards and it didn't work. So that's my coaching experience. Now, in this game, I get to go out and find a way to coach this. So we'll see. If you got plays, drop them in there. If you want to do, are we going to win? Are we going to lose? Put it in the comments. What do we think is going to happen, right? Because this is middle school basketball. This will be intense. I don't know if I'm going to go, what's my pregame speech? Am I going to pull out, am I going to do a Mick Cronin, wear a jacket, throw it? Am I going to go Cori Close, come out in a football uniform and a helmet, talk about the physicality of the game? Because this is not like AAU ball or anything. This is something different. It's physicality. Let's go. Am I going to come out, go like the legendary late Jim Valvano with his pregame speech like he gave at the ESPYs that one time that gets replayed over and over, right? This, and the Green Bay Packers, right? Some crazy, goofy, random rants before the first ever game. I don't know, right? I'm going to sit there. I'm wondering, can we get a screen? Can we do a pick and roll? Are we just going to launch it from three like I did all those years to make my dad frustrated when he was my coach when I was in middle school, and I shot like from three thinking I was Steph Curry before Steph Curry became famous, and every kid shot from three. That was me. I would shoot 13 threes a game and make 2 of them. Didn't get benched. Coach's son privileges, or just because our team was bad. One of the two. So we'll see how this goes. So my coaching debut officially happens this one. So we'll see how it goes. I'm not sure. I've coached a little baseball, a little softball before. Of course, basketball. I know the sport. But we'll see how it goes when it comes to communicating, getting the kids to listen, execution, and seeing if we get the dub. And what's the dub? Having fun, having a good time, growth, and nobody getting hurt. And, of course, I'm very competitive, so I want to come away with the dub. I'll let you know on the next Locked On UCLA episode how this goes, as detailed as I can without going too into detail. All right, so wish me luck. Go Bruins, most importantly, because they got to kick USC's rear and kick their butts. Go beat them in the Galen Center. For the women, they play earlier. Go smack the Huskies. Silence the Dogs. Get rid of the Cougars and get the job done against the Washington schools in the final time they make the trip down to UCLA as conference members with those two schools come together. Interesting to think about, all right? That's going to do it for Locked On UCLA Story Time Coaching Debut. Am I excited? Am I nervous? Am I going to try and be slick with the jersey? Am I going to wear slick back hair and a suit in an outdoor middle school basketball game in the cold? I don't know. We'll find out. We'll have a whiteboard. Who knows? We'll find out. Anyways, hands up, Bruins fans. 8 clap time, baby. And 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8. UCLA. UCLA. Fight, fight, fight. This has been Locked On UCLA. This is Zach signing off. Go Bruins.